Zotac Gaming RTX 2070 OC Mini 8GB review. Interestingly, Zotac has released two versions of its RTX 2070 mini card, one OC model with a 1650 MHz boost clock, and one reference clocked model with a 1620 MHz boost clock. The former retails for $539 while the latter is currently a fair bit cheaper at $459. We have the OC model in for review, so let's see how it stacks up against the competition. As mentioned, this is the OC Mini we are taking a look at today, so it ships with a 1650 MHz boost clock, just 30 MHz faster than reference. This is probably the smallest factory overclock I have ever seen. Memory has been left at stock, though, meaning we are left with a default 14 Gbps speed. The card itself is what we are here for, though, and overall I have to say it is pretty good looking, though nothing special. The plastic shroud is a combination of gunmetal gray and black, which won't cause any issues in a color coordinated build, but I do have to say the shroud itself does feel a bit flimsy and you can feel it bend and move when you pick the card up. Two fans occupy the bulk of the front of the card, and you can see they are both different sizes and different blade designs. The fan on the left measures 90 mm and has a swept blade design, whereas the fan on the right measures 100 mm and has a straighter, flatter blade design. We asked Zotac about the reasoning behind this, and at the time of publication we are still waiting for an official response, but my guess is that the different fans are each designed to give slightly different air pressure levels to aid cooling of the GPU core, VRMs and memory chips, as well as potentially reduce air turbulence. Having reviewed a number of RTX 2070 cards, all generally quite large and quite fast, I was very interested to get my hands on the Zotac RTX 2070 OC Mini. We've seen a number of these mini cards from Zotac in the past, but this is our first look at an RTX 20 series chip that has received the mini treatment. And I have to say Zotac has done a very good job. That's because the card actually runs very cool considering its diminutive size, with a peak of just 63 C on the GPU core. Power consumption is also the lowest we have seen from an RTX 2070, so that could also be a factor for some. Zotac was able to achieve such impressive thermal performance in two main ways. Firstly, while I wouldn't categorize the card as loud, it is certainly more audible than full-size RTX cards we have seen over the past couple of months, so you would have to be willing to settle for something not as easy on the ears if you went for a mini. On top of that, the Zotac 2070 OC Mini can't run quite as fast as its full-size brethren. It is by no means a slouch, but if we look back at our game performance figures, it is typically 2-3 frames per second slower than the next RTX 2070 card on the chart at 1080p and 1440p resolutions. This was the case whether we were playing titles like Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, or playing Battlefield V with DXR turned on. We were able to make up this performance difference via overclocking, though, as our sample managed an extra 125 MHz to the GPU core and 750 MHz on the memory. This brought our frame rates pretty much in line with heavily factory overclocked 2070 cards from the likes of MSI and Palette, at the expense of slightly increased temperatures and noise levels. So overall, I have to say I am very impressed with what Zotac has done with its RTX 2070 mini card. If you've got a standard mid-tower desktop it obviously doesn't make much sense, but if you want to bring high-fidelity gaming to your living room in a small chassis, or even build a portable RTX rig for LAN events, this will do the job very nicely. The main compromise for me is the acoustics, but even then it is really not that loud. What I would say, though, is get the RTX 2070 Mini, not the RTX 2070 OC Mini that I have reviewed here. The cards are exactly the same in terms of build, size, cooling. The only difference is the OC model ships with a 30 MHz faster core clock out of the box. It is not very much at all, yet it commands an 80 price premium over its marginally slower brother. For me, 80 for an extra 30 MHz is not worth it, the performance difference between the two cards would be next to nothing, and you could easily make up the gap, and then some, via overclocking. So I have to commend Zotac for making an impressively small RTX 2070 graphics card, which is all around very capable. But if you are looking for a card like this, get the reference clocked version and save yourself the extra 80 you would have paid for the OC edition.